Billionaire Daughter hadn't speak since birth until the garbage man did the unbelievable Paul Whitmore, had built skyscrapers that touched the clouds, but he couldn't put a single word out his own daughter's lips. Emma was 6 years old and had never spoken. She wasn't deaf. She wasn't mute. Doctors confirmed her vocal cords were fine, and therapists had tried countless sessions. Paul and his wife Joanna flew her to clinics in New York, Boston, even Zurich. Every expert left with the same helpless sigh. She can speak. She just won't. Joanna's eyes had permanent shadows under them. She doesn't even call me Mama, Paul, she whispered one night, her voice trembling. Do you know what it feels like to carry a child, to wait years for that first word, and it never comes? Paul clenched his jaw, unable to answer. He threw money at the problem, but money had no sound. Their mansion echoed with silence that grew heavier by the day. Emma smiled, yes. She laughed noiselessly, yes. But she never spoke. Not a single pop-up, not a single idea. It was on a Tuesday morning, while Paul barked orders on his phone, that Emma slipped out the front gate. Joanna screamed when she noticed. Paul, she's gone. Panic seized him. He sprinted outside only to freeze in shock. Emma wasn't lost. She was standing on the sidewalk in front of a man in orange overalls. The garbage man. He wore a helmet, gloves smeared with dirt, hauling a blue trash bag. He was the kind of man Paul barely noticed, the kind of worker invisible to men in suits. But Emma was staring at him with wide eyes. Hey there, princess, the man said, crouching down. His voice was calm, almost playful. He didn't flinch at her silence. He didn't pressure her. He just smiled. Emma's lips curled. She giggled, a sound without words, but still a sound. Paul nearly collapsed. Emma, he called, hands on his head. Don't bother. Come back here. But Emma didn't move. She tilted her head, studying the man as if he carried a secret no one else had. The garbage man set the bag down and tapped it. You know what this is? He asked softly. It's heavy, like when you carry too many secrets. Emma's eyes locked on him. He chuckled, but if you open it and let it out, it feels lighter. Joanna rushed to the gate, panic in her chest. Paul, he's talking to her. Paul snapped. She doesn't respond. No one can reach her. But Joanna shook her head, clutching his arm. Look, she's listening. The days passed. The garbage truck came every morning. And every morning, Emma waited by the gate. She never spoke, but she smiled when she saw him. She pointed at his gloves. She clapped when he lifted the heavy bins. One morning, Joanna approached him nervously. I don't even know your name. Daniel, he said simply. Daniel Hayes. Paul stiffened. Listen, Mr. Hayes, we appreciate your kindness, but my daughter needs professionals, not small talk from strangers. Daniel shrugged. Maybe she just needs someone who doesn't expect anything. He turned back to Emma, crouched low again. Hey, princess, guess what? Yesterday, I saw a cat jump right into a bin. Scared me half to death. Emma laughed silently, clutching her pink dress. Her whole face lit up. Joanna covered her mouth. Paul, she never reacts like this. Paul shook his head, unable to process. Weeks went by. Daniel became part of Emma's routine. He never asked her to speak. He only told her little stories about funny things on his route, about his old dog, about the silly songs he sang to himself while working. Emma listened with rapt attention. Sometimes she would mind back, pretending to lift a trash bag. Other times she'd clap at his jokes. She began leaving small things by the gate, drawings, flowers, even her favorite marble. Daniel always treated them like treasures. One morning, Paul stood back with his hand on his head, whispering to Joanna, this is insane. 6 years of silence, and she's bonding with a garbage man. Joanna's voice broke. Do you realize how many nights I've begged God for anything? For her to let someone in? I don't care who he is. Look at her, Paul. She's alive with him. Emma leaned close to Daniel, lips moving as if she wanted to shape a word. But nothing came. Not yet. Still, for the first time in years, Paul felt something he hadn't dared to feel. Hope. That night, Joanna sat at the edge of Emma's bed, brushing strands of hair from her forehead. Do you think you've been wrong all along? Paul sighed. Wrong? We've been treating her like a problem to solve. Not a little girl who just needs to feel safe. Paul had no answer. But deep down, he knew she was right. The next morning, Paul did something he never imagined. He put away his phone, ignored his chauffeur, and walked him outside himself. She clutched his hand tightly. Her small fingers felt warmer than ever. When Daniel arrived, Paul didn't bark or warn him off. He simply nodded. Morning. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Morning, mister. Whitmore. Emma let go of her father's hand and skipped toward Daniel. He crouched low. Princess, guess what? I nearly lost my glove in the bin today. Thought I'd be digging through trash all morning. Emma clapped, silent giggles spilling from her lips. Paul watched with quiet awe. Then he surprised himself. He stepped forward, crouched beside Daniel, and said, Emma, do you know, I almost lost my tie once. Got stuck in a revolving door at the hotel. Meanwhile, Emma froze. Her wide eyes darted between her father and Daniel. Then she giggled again. Paul swallowed hard. Maybe because I never told her any. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, Emma's world filled with voices, not her own yet, but voices that cared, voices that shared. Paul read her bedtime stories, not because he believed it would make her talk, but because he wanted her to enjoy them. Joanna sang softly while brushing her hair. They stopped waiting for words and started cherishing smiles. One evening, Emma sat beside Paul on the porch. She tugged at his sleeve and pointed to the stars. Beautiful, Paul whispered. Do you like them? Emma nodded, eyes shining. Paul leaned close. You don't have to say anything. I understand. But inside his heart ached. He wanted to hear her voice just once. The breakthrough came on a warm afternoon. Daniel was finishing his route when Emma came running with a drawing clutched in her hand. She handed it to him, a stick figure in orange beside a stick figure in a pink dress. Above them, a crooked sunbeam. Daniel smiled. Is this me? Emma nodded proudly. And this is you. Another nod. And what's this? He asked, pointing to the sun. Emma opened her mouth. For a second, nothing came. Then, barely audible, a whisper. Happy. The world froze. Paul's knees nearly gave out. Emma, he choked, tears filling his eyes. You, did you just... Daniel didn't flinch, didn't cheer, didn't pressure her. He simply smiled gently. That's right, princess. Happy, Emma repeated, stronger this time. Happy. Paul pressed his hands to his face, whispering, thank you, God, thank you. From that day forward, something changed, not only in Emma, but in all of them. Emma didn't suddenly chatter nonstop. Her words came slowly, shyly, like tiny blossoms in spring. Sometimes weeks passed with only a single new word, but every sound was a miracle. Paul no longer measured progress in contracts or milestones. He measured it in whispers and laughter, in the way Emma's lips formed Mama one evening and Papa the next. One night, as Emma drifted to sleep, Joanna whispered, I used to pray for her first word. Now, I think I'll pray she never stops smiling like this. Paul kissed his daughter's forehead, tears slipping down his cheeks. She doesn't need to fill this house with words. She already filled it with life. Joanna squeezed his hand, and maybe we needed a change, not her. Weeks later, Daniel stopped by with his usual grin. Paul stepped outside, shook his hand firmly, and said, you gave us something no amount of money could buy, not words. Oh, thank you. Daniel only smiled. All I did was listen. As the truck rumbled away, Paul looked at his daughter twirling barefoot on the grass. She wasn't broken. She wasn't lost. She was just Emma. And for the first time in years, Paul felt lighter than any empire could make him. He whispered to himself, watching her spin in the sunlight. Sadness will always be there. But right now, happiness is louder. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.